Jeff Pasquino from the footballguys.com. He answers your fantasy football questions on our text board, 609-403-0973. I see some questions already coming in for Jeff. We'll get to those as we welcome Jeff in for week number 7 of the fantasy football season. It starts tonight with Denver and Arizona. Jeff, Thursday night football. This is kind of a not a lot of fantasy players in this game tonight, right?
Well, here's the issue, and by the way, I've given up on advising Mike on his drafts. He never listens to me, so
as evident by his drafts, Jeff.
That's not true.
Yeah, as true point. I was big on Tevin Coleman getting on all my teams, and I'm doing okay there. But not one player doesn't make a whole team. So, but as far as tonight, I think the game it could be a sneaky value there because we got 4 teams on a bye: Pittsburgh, Green Bay, Seattle, Oakland. So people are going to be scrambling for some value this week. So we're getting right in the heart of the bye weeks. Denver, Arizona. Denver is the only NFL team in history that has given up 2 200-yard rushers in the last 2 weeks, Isaiah Crowell and Todd Gurley. So if there's ever a week for David Johnson to finally get off and be a true running back one, this would be it. But I think Denver's going to throw the ball. I think Sanders and
real quick,
Thomas.
I did listen to you, Jeff. I have Lindsey on my team. The problem is I also have Royce Freeman.
Oh, so what do you do?
Yeah, well, it's for me, it's the guy who's getting more touches and getting more action with those touches, which is Lindsey. I trust him more. He's more multifaceted. He's on the field for more snaps. I think both guys are viable this week. I think that I would lean a little bit more towards Lindsey, just because. But the depth of running back and wide receiver is kind of thin this week again with 4 teams off.
Let me ask you, sneak this in for tonight. I am in a deeper league, a 14-team league. I needed a tight end to go because my guy is off this week in Jared Cook. So I'm going, and I don't know how big of a risk it is. Small to no, don't do it. Ricky Seals-Jones tonight. I'm trying to think of somebody worthwhile on that Arizona offense that maybe I can get something from. Ridiculous or savvy?
No, I actually like that pick. I think the tight end's been a tough position this year. I think that Ricky Seals-Jones, we have him ranked as 14, so he's right at that line. He's seen a good number of targets the last 2 weeks. He didn't do too much with them 2 weeks ago, but last week he had a pretty good, solid performance of 5 catches and 69 yards. So I think he's a solid option this week. I think you'll see 3 or 4 catches, which is about all you can ask for a lot of tight ends right now.
We're trying to help the listeners, not you.
No, but I think that people in deep. This is why the old adage of nobody cares about your fantasy team is wrong, because we have an expert like Jeff on. So if I ask a question, like I have a quarterback question, all right, I'm going to hijack this real quick. I've got Jameis Winston or Matthew Stafford. Now, there are people out there that might be in that similar situation with only one of those quarterbacks, and they need expertise from Jeff.
I always say people like to hear when their players mentioned.
Absolutely.
So
and I guarantee you that people got those 2 guys.
Jameis Winston, Matthew Stafford.
See?
Jeff.
Well, whenever you want to pick a quarterback, both those guys are in our top 10, so I don't think you can go too wrong. But I'm leaning towards Winston, which matches our rankings, because he's in a game that's supposed to be a shootout. And I'm leaning towards – and whenever I'm in doubt, I look at the point spread from Las Vegas, and we have 6 games that are 49.5 point totals or higher. And the one game I'm kind of scratching off is San Francisco and the Rams. I think that might be a little bit one-sided. But you've got Chicago, New England, you got Tampa, Cleveland, you got Baltimore, New Orleans, you got Kansas City, Cincinnati, and you got Atlanta and the Giants. Again, I'm leaning a little far more towards Atlanta than the Giants there. But those are the teams you want to target if you have any questions and you're looking for a guy to pick up.
All right, Sam Darnold, they put up over 40 last week. Is he in your lineup this week?
No, I think he's a little bit too tough there. First off, the Jets are a really decimated wide receiver. You got Enunwa is out. You've got Curse is
Pryor's banged up. Right?
Yeah, everybody's banged up. I think that Robbie Anderson's going to give it a go. I think he practiced today. But in general, they are pretty banged up, and they don't have really a tight end either. So I think that it's a tough go. I think Minnesota's getting healthier while the Jets are getting really banged up.
All right, what about – we all know Mahomes is in, right? But Andy Dalton, he's typically not – you don't think of him as a fantasy guy, but should you?
You should, and you should pick him up because he's got one of the softest schedules the rest of the way. He's got really good matchups, and he's got one this week. And he's in one of those games I mentioned with the Cincinnati, Kansas City with the highest point total at 58.5. You start all your Bengals this week.
Start all your Bengals.
I like it. I don't have any Bengals.
I have
but
Tyler Boyd.
I'm not going up against any
baby.
Bengals either. So.
Boyd's been beast.
I like it.
How about Cam Newton against the Eagles? Because, this is an interesting matchup. The Eagles' defense much better at home.
It is an interesting matchup. I feel like he's going to try and control the time of possession, keep Cam Newton off the field. But Newton is a multi-dimensional running back, quarterback option, and I think that he's going to put up QB1 fantasy points this week.
All right, let's go to running backs. If you have a question for Jeff, 609-403-0973. Text messages coming in for Jeff Pasquino, footballguys.com. Let's go over to the running backs now. All right, a lot of running backs, interesting ones here. How about you look at the situation? It seems like there's a lot of situations. Guys get hurt almost every single week here. So I'm looking at, for the running back spot, and I look at that game with Dallas, Ezekiel Elliott and the Washington Redskins, Adrian Peterson. How about those two guys against each other? They're both going up against pretty good defenses.
Yeah, and Adrian Peterson is going to see a lot of target from the defense. Sean Lee's practicing back, and the Dallas defense has been very underrated. So they're going to emphasize him. They're going to force Alex Smith to try and beat them when they're banged up at wide receiver, too. So I think Jordan Reed and maybe even Vernon Davis could see some action if you need a tight end.
Last week, I asked you a question about Alex Collins. You gave me good advice on that. Everybody out there, good advice. And I'm curious where you have two running backs in your rankings this week, Collins and Carlos Hyde.
Carlos Hyde, he's running back 2. And, again, keep in mind that the bar is a little bit lower because you've got some buys. So he's in the running back 2 category against Tampa Bay. They're going to see – that's going to be an offensive he's done very well in that offense, and Cleveland's going to need to score points to keep up with Tampa Bay. And Tampa Bay's got a very, very bad defense. So I like him as a running back, too. I think the Baltimore running game, both the backs that they offer right now are in the sort of a flex spot. I think Baltimore's going to put up a lot of points and surprise people. Baltimore's a top 10 offense. Not many people are talking about, and that defense is playing very well. That is a game that's a sneaky shootout, and I could see that game is probably pushing to be one of the higher totals for the week.
Sony Michel, you confident enough in him yet?
Well, as much as I can never be confident in Bill Belichick running back, but I think that Sony Michel and James White are seeing enough action in that offense, and New England plays enough snaps on offense for both those guys to be running back twos with some upside.
I got offered Kenyon Drake in a trade offer this morning. Is he worth making a play for? Should you start him against the Lions?
I think he's a running back, too. You can start this week, but I would not trade for him. That brings up a good point. It is a good week to start looking at some trades selling high. You have some teams that need some players because they're the buys. It's a good time to start trade guys. But I would not target Drake because Tannehill is out again. He could be out for the duration. If you're investing in that offense, you're investing in Brock Osweiler, and that's not something I'm willing to do.
Yeah, I want to get your, because, okay, what do you advise owners? I'm in a situation, I have Mahomes and I have Breeze. Obviously, I can't play them both. People want them. It's hard because the quarterback scores so many points as opposed to a running back. Like the guy's offering me Kenyon Drake for Breeze, and I'm thinking, I know I don't use Breeze, but Drake is not, what do you advise people in that situation when you have the two quarterbacks and you're constantly making that decision? Do you undercut yourself because you're not using the guy, or do you try to get a better guy, but you might not? You know what I'm saying?
Well, I think you have to look at the calendar and look and see, you got two good options there, and Mahomes is going to draw the most value. Now you got Kansas City, and you're targeting being in the playoffs. So Kansas City is playing Baltimore, the Chargers, and Seattle in weeks 14, 15, and 16, while the Saints are playing Tampa Bay, Carolina, and Pittsburgh. I'm targeting keeping Breeze, trading Mahomes at peak value, and I'm willing to take a discount on him because I'll get another starter.
What do you think? You mentioned earlier because of Mike's blunder in Devontae Freeman, Tevin Coleman, and clearly there's a ton of upside there, but is there any sneaky upside in Ito Smith?
There is, and I think he's going to get mixed in a little bit more. He's more of a flex guy right now, but he's one bad play away from being starter there. And Tevin Coleman has not carried the workload for a long duration. He's going to be asked to carry the bulk of the work for the next 2 months for a team that's got to score a lot of points because the Atlanta defense is decimated. So I think both those guys are going to put up decent value. Clearly I favor Coleman, but Smith is an RB3 flex kind of guy.
Wow, we got a ton of questions coming in for Jeff. I want to get to as many as I can. Let's just ask a couple receivers. Let's go to how about Marvin Jones against the Dolphins? The Lions are coming off of a bye, and the Dolphins, gave up, 38 last week to the Bears.
I like Marvin Jones as a wide receiver 3 with some upside. I think all the wide receivers, Detroit used a lot of 3 wide receiver sets, probably second to the Rams as being in that formation a lot. But my favorite is Kenny Galladay for that offense. I think both those guys, you got Jones and Galladay as being top options, and I think Golden Tate is probably my third, but all 3 are playable this week.
Let's go with Josh Gordon and that offense. Did you see enough from him to make you feel like he's a bigger part of their offense? You got Edelman, you got Hogan.
I think Josh Gordon's getting mixed in more. I brought this up in one of my columns this past week or two. I think that the Patriots are favoring their model is they kind of build and figure things out for the first half of the season, knowing that they're going to crush in that division, and they kind of peak in November, December. So they're kind of toying around, seeing what works, and they're starting to see that Josh Gordon works, and they really like the explosive guy to take the top off the defense. I think Gordon's going to see more and more action and diminish Chris Hogan's involvement.
Without having specifics, just looking more at a general hypothetical, you look at a team like the Giants who have such terrible quarterback play. Are you looking at legit opportunities to trade guys like Odell Beckham Jr. and Saquon Barkley?
I think Barkley is tradable. Obviously, in a keeper league, I would not do that. But for this year, I would do that because he's going to see a lot of work regardless of as a receiver or a rusher. Trading Beckham or Ingram or Shepard as receivers, you're going to be selling low no matter what. So you're pretty much better off just kind of hanging on and hoping for the best because you're not going to get much in a trade for any of those guys.
Yeah, maybe somebody would give me like a free burger for Sterling Shepard.
Well, I'll tell you, this is the time of the year. You make a good point. Like guys that you drafted high, Odell Beckham, David Johnson, Le'Veon Bell, like you got to start making decisions on these guys, right?
Yeah, and draft picks don't matter anymore once you get to week 2. It doesn't matter who's performing, who's not. It doesn't matter what round you drafted them in.
All right, questions from our listeners. Let's fire off as many as we can. By the way, we've got like a record number of questions for Jeff. You could tell we're getting to that midway point. Marvin Jones or Deshaun Jackson at wide receiver?
PPR Marvin Jones and explosive play, I like Deshaun Jackson.
Ito Smith or Marlon Mack at running back?
Ooh, I would actually go with Marlon Mack. He's going to see the bulk of the work and probably in a Colts runaway offense this week.
Lindsey or Hyde?
I go with Carlos Hyde.
Cousins or Winston?
Winston.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Need 2 of these. Funches, Chris Godwin, Calvin Ridley, or John Brown. Need 2.
I like John Brown and I like Calvin Ridley this week.
Winston or Trubisky?
I have to look at my list for Trubisky, but I think both of them are solid. I like Winston a little bit more.
All right, who should I start? Phillip Rivers or Carson Wentz?
Phillip Rivers is really moving that offense, but Carson Wentz is going to be, without lack of a solid ground game, I got to go with Wentz.
Start 2, Lindsey, Hyde, D. Johnson, I guess David Johnson, or Latavius Murray.
Well, Cook is back, so I'm going to scratch Murray, and David Johnson I think is a top 10 guy, and I would go with Hyde over Lindsey, as I mentioned earlier.
How big of a play is Cook, knowing that he's back, taking some touches away from Murray?
That's going to be an interesting game. I think Minnesota's going to dominate that game. I think Cook is going to be a running back, too. They're going to want to get him healthy this week.
Gordon or Hilton?
Hilton's practicing. I think that I kind of like T.Y. Hilton a little bit more just for a safety reason, but if you need huge upside, then I go Gordon.
Julio Jones or Demaryius Thomas?
Julio Jones. The Demaryius Thomas, I like the guy a lot, but Emmanuel Sanders is seeing way more targets.
Pick 3 for this week, OBJ, DeAndre Hopkins, Tyreek Hill, Julio Jones. That's a hell of a group.
Yeah, it is. I scratch OBJ off that list.
Winston or Luck? Ooh, that's
Winston's the number 5 quarterback. I'll tell you the 4 guys above him. Mahomes, Goff, Ryan, and Kirk Cousins, I think, is a tie. I would go Winston there.
How much of Winston being 5 is the matchup?
It is the matchup and the point spread and the fact that he runs the ball. He put up 31 yards rushing last week.
Jeff, sleepers, guys you like, waiver wires, go.
Okay, well, we talked about some wide receivers. Josh Reynolds should be picked up. I think that Cooper Kupp is going to be out. Josh Reynolds, again, the Rams go 3 wide often. Josh Reynolds is a very quality wide receiver 3 this week. Tyler Boyd was mentioned earlier, get all your Bengals. But I think John Ross is a sleeper to pick up. He's coming back from an injury. So look for that. Look for also guys that are moving into a bigger role on the bye week. Great time to pick them up. If you really need a running back, Jalen Richard or Doug Martin, I'd rather go with Richard. But Oakland needs some running back help because Marshawn Lynch is going to be on the injury report.
There you go. Week 7. Get your guys in the lineup. There's a game tonight. Denver, Arizona. Jeff Pasquino from the footballguys.com. He'll be back again next week to answer your fantasy football questions. Good luck to you, Jeff.
Good luck to everybody and enjoy the games.